Hey guys, alright, so we're finishing up the little pink Honda 250 ET, or excuse me, 250 TE or 250 ES. And really, we talked about the seat cover and how, personally, when I see a machine that has a tore up seat cover, if someone's not taking care of the seat cover, then they probably haven't taken care of anything underneath it. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just a perception. It might be wrong, but it's a perception nonetheless. I think a lot of people feel similar to that. At 20 foot, one of the first things you see on an ATV, color of the plastics, the seat, maybe the tires. And so those three things, you need to put your best foot forward when you're trying to sell something. So this is the seat here. Now this is a modern four-wheeler seat. You know, a lot of your three-wheelers are the same way, but they have a plastic bottom. You know, starting in 84, 85, they started going to the plastic bottoms. And they're a lot easier to work with, but there is a key here. There's a trick. You need a pneumatic stapler. There'll be a link in the description. You've seen me if you watch the channel any length of time. I've got a cheap Amazon, overseas, whatever you want to call it, air stapler, pneumatic stapler. They're not that expensive. They're about $25. For what you save on a seat cover, you can certainly afford the stapler, and it will work on a lot of different projects: wood projects, cardboard projects, interior of your car, whatever you want to work on, kids, craft projects. So you can use it in a lot of different places. It's one of those tools that you're really investing in yourself. And so this is probably the third seat cover I'll be doing with mine. It's paid for itself several times over. But seat covers, you can get good quality seat covers, you can get poor, quality seat covers. I try to look for one that has a seam in it. I know a lot of your OEs do not have a seam in them, but the seam helps a novice install it. It kind of gives you a guide for your eye to look at. It kind of gives you a pull point so you can kind of line things up and get things balanced on your seat. They're not hard to do. There's a couple of tricks. If you're my age, you probably remember wrapping your high school textbooks with a brown paper bag, and it's kind of a lot like that, or maybe even Christmas presents. I like to pull from the center, the longest direction first, and then I turn the item, and I pull from the center again in the narrow direction. And once I lock down those 4 points, everything else kind of falls into place. Again, you have the seams to go by. This is just a basic, it's like $35. It's not an OE. OE would be nice, but they're going to be a little bit more expensive if you can find them. They are aftermarket companies out there that make them very, very close to OE. So, do your homework. There's a lot of different options out here. Today, we're just going to kind of go over the steps quickly of what it takes to really do one of these at home, and it's not that hard. So here on the table, we've got our seat we talked about is a plastic bottom. There are some hand staplers, but I promise you, it's a job using a hand stapler. They're not going to go in as deep as a pneumatic stapler, so keep that in mind. I will show you a pneumatic stapler here in just a little bit. You see the top of this seat is tore up. This is very common when the material actually splits at a seam and then it shrinks. You've got this hard edge. Now, a lot of guys will try to cover over that, and if you're going to do that, I would say take a knife and cut this hard edge off, and then possibly even if you've got some foam damage, you can take a piece of duct tape and you can put across the foam damage and kind of even it out. Now, if you've got big valleys and big pieces of foam missing, then no, that's not going to work. You can go cut a piece of foam out of another seat and put on here. You can glue it in place, and then you can wrap all of it with plastic. There's a lot of different techniques on trying to save these old seats. This foam is intact. It is a little worn here at the front where they were riding it without a cover. I don't think that's going to necessarily show up in the end result or the end product. So we're going to move forward. The tools of choice for doing this, it's just kind of a pain. A flathead or a flat spade screwdriver. You get underneath the factory staples really well. A pair of wire cutters can grab that staple and kind of roll it out. I will even take a pocket knife and go all the way around and get rid of the bulk of the cover, and then all I will be left with is just the edge that's actually stapled down. Once you get a piece of that loose, you can pretty much rip it off with a pair of pliers. I like a pair of little channel locks. They work really good for that. And it's just a process. Now do go back once we get the cover off and pull all of your half staples, the ones that break off that are left in the bottom. Be sure and get all of those out, because you will catch a finger and you're not going to be happy about that. So let's get started on taking this old cover off. All right, well, there you go. About a 30-minute job. You saw me use the heat gun. Had I been able to do this job yesterday when I had planned it, the sun was out and I had the seat cover out and it got all warm. I just didn't get to it. So you can manipulate it a couple different ways. Set it out in the sun a couple hours before you get ready to work with it. That is probably the best way. Second, you can throw it in the dryer. If you've got a dryer, relatively available to you, put it in the dryer for, 3 to 5 minutes. Just get it warm, get it pliable, then you can use it. I'm working in the evening, no dryer, no sun. So we pulled out the heat gun. Just be real careful with that. It will melt it if you're not, real careful. Not the best aftermarket seat cover I've put on. It's a little big and it's a little gappy. I've pretty much taken up all the gaps. I'm pleased with it. I've had better covers, let's say that. So I'm not going to give that one the best review, but compared to what it looked like before, I'm very pleased with that seat cover. Very pleased with it. I think it makes the machine look a lot cleaner, a lot more well taken care of. If I was a prospective buyer to come out and I saw that seat cover on there, first I would think that it was well taken care of and probably undercover. Seeing that these plastics are faded, I would say that that's a new seat cover. Either way, I think it's a bonus to the new owner. When they come to pick it up, they're going to be pleased to sit on that versus that old ratty one over there with the holes all in it. But that's it. That's a little 15-minute tech. Doesn't take that long, about 30 minutes. Aftermarket seat cover, little preparation. Get you a pneumatic stapler, and honestly, get you a heat gun too. I never would have dreamed how often I grab that heat gun for just little things. Intake boots that are hard and brittle. That's a big one. I use it a lot for that. Carb boots, intake boots. Any rubber that gets brittle and gets hard over the years, these three-wheelers aren't getting any younger. And again, seat covers, anything you need to heat up with a controlled amount of heat, they're great for that. There'll be a link in the description for both of those. And I encourage you to have them in the shop. It's a tool that you will find many, many uses for. So as always, thanks again. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. And it goes a long way to help the channel. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for your patronage and your views over the years. You have a great day.